Hey, hi. The microphone's all the way up there. Welcome back. It's Tuesday, so that means it's time for another Funker News Network. I'm Ronnie, and I'll be your host once again. We've got a packed schedule tonight, so we're gonna have a guest. Our special guest is gonna be from ATN Optics here in just a little bit. They're gonna be coming on right around 6:15. We're gonna be talking about Mariupol today. We're gonna be talking a little bit about Kharkiv. And Ukrainian troops reaching the Russian border. We're going to talk about Severodonetsk. We've got a lot to go through. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to get it all done in time, but we train to standard. I'm just going to throw out, random military buzzwords from now on. Welcome in. Please make sure you tapped on the like button. I got to talk a little bit about our sponsor and partner, and they're going to be here with us today. It's going to be ATN. I'm a big fan of ATN's optics. I think they bridge the gap between, what's typically out there on the market from like a night vision and thermal optic perspective on cost. Listen, I'm not dropping 20 grand on an optic. So ATN comes in at a price point that I can meet that makes the wife happy, my chief financial officer specifically. And they're also really good people, and we're going to find out what I mean by that here in a little bit. But I do need to get us going right away. I know I've got no beard. I've got no hair. I had the weekend warrior thing. Trust me, all of your taxpayer dollars were absolutely wasted. I guarded a computer lab the entire weekend. So you're welcome. And thank you for thanking me. Let's jump in. So we're going to talk right out of the gate about Mariupol, right? Because that's what I put up as the title. So Mariupol has officially fallen. And what do you mean by that? Well, Ukraine has officially announced that 264 Mariupol Defenders, and the reason I say Mariupol Defenders and not necessarily Azov is, remember, we had a mixture of Azov and Marines and civilians that were there. 264 have been evacuated into Russian-controlled areas. Somewhere around 50 of those were severely or critically wounded and are being treated for, those wounds. Now, here is my understanding of the guise of why, one of the reasons that they have surrendered. And I'm gonna pull up a map just so you guys have something pretty to look at and don't have to stare at my face. Now, here. And this is Mariupol for those that don't know. My understanding of this exchange was that it was coordinated with the potential that the Azov, or I should say Mariupol Defenders, would be used in a POW exchange with those held by Ukraine. So the Russian POWs that are being held by Ukraine would be exchanged for Azov. Well, earlier today, the Russian lower house, lower house versus the higher house government, presented a vote to block all Azov from being used as in POW exchanges. So that's something that I'm going to need to follow. And we do have some footage that I want to get into here. I'm going to introduce you guys to a new map, uawardata.com. I actually really, really enjoy this map. It's one I had a chance to speak with its owner, the guy that created the map. Let me go grab his name really quick for you. Hit the like button, please and thank you. Thank you and please. Henry Schlottman. I'm going to give you a link to his profile. This is the guy that developed that map along with, of course, some help. And what I really love about it, and I'll pull it back up for you guys here, I really love the fact that, we're able to dive a little bit further in a more interactive way with unit disposition across Ukraine, right? So we'll be spending a little bit more time on this map as opposed to Institute for the Study of Wars map. They are using live UA map for, Russian ground controlled areas, these red areas here. But I love the fact that we can quickly and rapidly just click down here and we'll see what this unit is. This is the 53rd Separate Motorized Brigade. Again, I'm going to post this map link for you guys. Map is days out of date. Yeah, they only update it every 2 or 3 days, though. So the last update for this map was on the 13th. He's been honest about that, but this is still better than not having general disposition of units, right? So I enjoy that. You know, some of the most important pieces to take note of here are going to be the little symbol above the box. That's going to dictate unit size. So this is going to be a brigade. The three lines is going to be a regiment, right? You'll have combined arms armies up here. So the 4 X's. So that helps you understand the disposition of units. Once you start to dive a little bit further down into military symbology, you'll understand, like this is air assault. So X's are infantry. The little V there means air assault. The wings at the bottom of this one are airborne. You've got mechanized infantry here and here for Ukraine. I love this map, and we'll be using it, especially to try to tie back when we're looking at footage and where exactly, you know, if say the 81st Air Assault Brigade releases some footage, we'll be able to come back to this map and at least have somewhat of an understanding of where that was. If it was, sometimes on Reddit, it'll say, oh, it was in, you know, north of Kharkiv, and it could be way off, right? So independent research, independent analysis, doing as best as we can to leverage what's out there from independent sources rather than lean on some of those mainstream sources. This is the kind of stuff that I look at every day. Now, I want to look at some videos here, specifically in and around Mariupol. The first one, I don't necessarily know that it's Mariupol, but this is going to be some pretty wild footage that we're gonna see Azov fighting at very, very close range here. This was reported. The location that was reported with this was Donetsk. If that's the case, then it would have had to have been relatively early on in the war. I'm going to pull that up for you really quick. We're going to get through the Mariupol segment here in the next 7 to 8 minutes, and then we're going to get Steve from ATN to come on and talk about, you know, what they've been doing, what they're seeing, what they've got. We're going to talk about some of the equipment that they've provided to Ukraine as well. So here that video is coming up for you now. I can't show you the end of the video, so I'm going to give you the link, and you're welcome to go and watch it. It's got some pretty not safe for work stuff at the end of it. That's the link of the video we're about to watch. And here you go.
Щось годить їхня техніка. Сука, піздує сюди. Блять, переліт.
А який переліт?
Переліт. Суки.
А у нас кабачки ще є?
Їдуть сюди, прямо на 12.
Тихо, тихо, тихо.
Що тихо?
Їде. Пацани, їде бак.
Time out. Time out. I'm gonna show that, Robert. I'm gonna show that comment. It says, keep cucking for, where'd it go? For the globalist Ronnie. Once government property, always government property, I see. I'm in my basement in underwear, bro. Like, this is my basement. Relax. Don't be an idiot. Going back to the footage.
Заряджаємося.
Готов, сука.
So we're not going to be able to get through all this, like I said, but something that's going to be pertinent here is they're gonna move to hand grenades at some point, and when you start lobbing hand grenades, that's danger close, right? Unless you're Brett Favre and you're sending that thing, you know, 100 yards, you've got problems close. Now, at the end of this video, the reason I'm not going to show the full video here is, you know, there's just a bunch of Russian dead guys, right? So follow the link, go check it out. If that link for some reason is not working, check the stream description. That one should work fine. Going back to full screen.
оружие нахуй! Оружие положи, блядь! Положи оружие, я сказал, блядь!
Зброю на підлогу!
Отойди от оружия!
На підлогу! Я не по тобі.
О, блядь, блядь! Я сказал, лягай!
Is it on the app? Yes. Every video we ever review here will be on the app and the website.
Блядь, сука!
Візьми калаш.
Легли нахуй!
Я сказав, сука!
Oh, Jake, I kind of enjoy going hands-on direct every so often, buddy.
А що, вони здаються? Вони здаються?
Да! Заглушили мотор! Заглушили
Підери
мотор!
здаються.
Заглушили мотор, быстро! Быстро заглушили мотор, или я стреляю! На счет 3, раз! Два!
Ахуй, підери.
Shot on iPhone. It looks like he's got a helmet-mounted camera of some kind, maybe a GoPro, because he was also taking footage with his iPhone at one point. Are these Russians or Ukrainians? This is reportedly Azov.
Пацани?
Here comes the RGD.
Есть гранаты!
Є. Є.
Давай, дай. Гранаты есть у кого?
Блять. Є.
Давай, де, граната.
Граната! Подарунок, підер!
And then once the grenade hits, that's about where we're gonna end it here. Towards the end of this video, and again, every video that we look at, guys, is linked in the stream description. That's something that I've started doing in order most of the time. I jumped to the Mariupol section because I really wanted to talk about this and cover it. The next one that I want to show you really quick, though, is some of the activity that was happening in and around Azovstal over the course of the last couple days. Russia really just wearing down those Mariupol defenders. This specifically is going to be 9M22S magnesium incendiary rounds that were used. They're typically launched from BM-21 Grads, and I can show you guys BM-21 Grads, but it's a multi-launch rocket system. And what they're designed to do is start fires, just, blanket an area in, sub-munitions that are, magnesium-based, and it will just ignite anything that's dry. All right, that's coming up for you guys here. It's going to look like it's raining fire, and that's really exactly what it is. Full screen for you. So on first watch, I actually thought these were flares. I thought that there was, an Su-24 or even a Hind over top, but these are all sub-munitions. Now, each individual rocket fired out of the Grad is going to have 180 of these sub-munitions. I want to say the Grad shoots about 40 rockets. I don't know for certain. We can look that up. But these are really designed to just ignite fires wherever they hit, and they are magnesium-based. Again, it's the 9M22S munition. Let's run that one more time, and then we're gonna call ATN. We're gonna link up with Steve. Smircher TOS 1, not Grad. Okay. Fair. All right. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick ad from our sponsor, and I'm gonna get on the horn with Steve, and when we'll be back, hopefully I'll have him here with us. All right? It's coming up. You're gonna love it. Steve, do we have you?
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Good to be here.
Steve, welcome back. For those that don't know, Steve is one of our partners here at Funker 530. And Steve, if you wouldn't mind, you know, we had you on about a month ago to talk a little bit about ATN and what ATN offers, as well as some of the things that you're doing for Ukraine. But what I'd love is if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and ATN quickly for those that aren't familiar with ATN. That way we can get kind of a better understanding of where you sit in industry.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ronnie, for having me on your program. And I appreciate you guys doing what you do, not only for the veteran community, but also the coverage you're doing for Ukraine. It's been fantastic. ATN's been around since 1995, over 2 decades. We're in a very niche space, thermal and night vision optics. You know, we kind of started the revolution in terms of smart optics, transitioning from I-squared traditional nods, as you're probably familiar in the service, PVS-14s and PVS-7s. We're now, have thermal scopes, day-night digital scopes that have advanced features, have first-person recording capability, so you can, record your hunt or your shooting experience onto the scope and, share it on social media or, learn, from your mistakes. It's a great training tool also. So our products, we have products ranging from $500 to $5,000. We have, like Ben & Jerry's ice cream, every kind of flavor out there in terms of budget, quality, and price point out there in the marketplace. Sure. We're one of the bigger companies in the space, and we have a great following on Facebook, Instagram, and you name it. So we're proud to bring great quality products to market and support the shooting sports community and Ukraine as well. We have sure. Families there. I have a family, extended family there.
That's right. You are Ukrainian, born. Ukrainian born.
Yeah, I was born Ukraine. Yeah, my family came here late 1980s, but I've been U.S. citizen for over 30 years, and this is my homeland. This is my country. But I was born there. I grew up there for a few years, and I still have some extended family from my dad's side there. Which actually they had the opportunity to leave, but they didn't want to. They're staunch, homeland supporters. So
you guys,
we're.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I did have a few questions that I don't think we covered in the last time we had you here. And if you don't mind, so you guys specialize in digital and thermal / night vision optics, correct?
Absolutely.
You also have a couple other offerings, like you guys just released the X Sound that you have in front of you. What if you had to explain in the most simplistic of terms the difference between your traditional glass optic, and a digital optic, not necessarily night vision and thermal? I think those kind of speak for themselves. But your traditional glass optic versus digital optic, how would you explain that to somebody that's really just getting into the next generation type optics?
Sure. Well, glass optics have been around for hundreds of years. You have the traditional scope that you go hunting or shooting with. It has glass elements, has prisms, and it has an edged reticle. Sometimes the modern scopes have illuminated reticles, right, that help you see in lower light situations. With digital optics, you have some of those same elements, but you incorporate electronics. You have boards, you have memory, you have CMOS sensor.
Guys, if you have questions for Steve, feel free to drop into the chat, or
the capability
I'll try to keep up with those and pass those along.
And night, with the help of like an infrared illuminator for night vision capability. But with digital optics, unlike analog optics, you could do so much more. You could incorporate a ballistic calculator in the device. You could have different profiles for swapping the optic between various weapons platforms, and have the type of caliber set in those profiles to use in that with the ballistic calculator. You could have video recording capability. You can incorporate Bluetooth and Wi-Fi like we have, and have like accessories like a wireless remote control to control the functions.
So you guys actually have an app that you can control different parts of your optic, right? I actually use it for my binocs. I was using the binocs I took them to drill with me, my reserve duty, by the way.
Oh, nice. That's fantastic. So you could stream like the live perspective from your product, like the binoculars or the scopes, directly to your phone and see exactly what your scope or binoculars see in real time. And you could also record and control the settings in the scope or binoculars through the app as well. So it's pretty cool stuff.
Now, the reason I asked that question was really just to understand the type of technology, because you guys have actually provided, both from an industry perspective as well as from a donation perspective, various pieces of the technology that you have of these optics to Ukraine. Is there any specificity on the capabilities that have been provided, and really at what degree?
Well, Ukraine is, they need everything they could get at this point, right? In that regard, what they need is night vision capability predominantly. All the cool stuff that's in the products is great, but at the end of the day, they need capability to own the night. And, we're doing our part to provide that capability with thermal binoculars, thermal scopes, day-night binoculars, and day-night vision scopes as well. And binoculars like the Otis, the Odin, we have a lot of different products that fill that need. And if they can own the night and be more capable than their Russian counterparts, they could have various degrees of more success in the field.
Yeah,
so
and there's
having that capability is huge.
There's a lot of emphasis on, the U.S. is posturing a $40 billion aid package. There's a lot of emphasis on what, from a government perspective, is being provided. But I think something for people to understand is that from an industry perspective, from a corporation perspective, there's also a lot of donation type support that's happening there. We have partners across industry, and we've seen all different levels of support. You guys also
actually you guys hooked us up with a great organization, Global Surgical and Medical Support Group. I think Mr. Funker himself connected me and their CEO Aaron, and they were one of the first entities in the ground helping provide critical medical training and support for in theater and combat operations. And actually we've helped them acquire a few thermal scopes and thermal binoculars in their protective operations in theater as well.
GSMSG. A great organization, great folks.
Support them, donate to them. They're a great, fantastic organization.
Yep. So in Steve's right. We connected GSMSG with ATN. They were on the hunt for some capability increases. They specialize in advanced medical training and providing advanced medical care for combat and conflict zones around the world. Absolutely. So you guys also offer your more traditional type of night vision capability, though. Yeah. I'm thinking, PS31s, PS14, PVS-14, stuff like that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We have a full line of, nods and binoculars in I2, traditional night vision that, everybody's come to, kind of seen in movies and, in video games and, in the live war scenarios in theaters.
Sure. Well, Steve, I appreciate you coming on with us. We knew it was going to be a relatively short spot for you tonight because I know you have to head out. And once again, thank you for everything that you guys are doing. Thank you for your partnership with us. We appreciate you. I'm still running the Excite 4K on the Remington. Love it. The ballistic calculator is amazing. I zeroed that thing in 2 shots. It was fantastic. Nice. Well, 3 because I had the cold bore, but it's close enough. Thanks again, Steve. Yeah. And we'll check in with you in a little bit.
Okay, fantastic, man.
All right. Later. Yes, sir. Bye. So that was Steve from ATN Optics, and I'm a fan of ATN because I think that they bring to the table some capabilities that largely have really only been available at very, very high price ranges. And, they're bringing it to the mass market. It's a lot. It's not unlike some of our other partners that we have, speaking specifically like Hardhead Veterans. They are bringing ballistic helmets to the masses, to everybody, to make that, more obtainable. I need to go through some of this support because it's absolutely been flying through, guys. Immortal, thank you for the 629. Is it like a mirrorless camera or the sensor and glass interchangeable? If not, why are there multiple focal lengths on the same sensor? That's getting really far down, and I wish I would have caught that while we had Steve here. Steve, if you're still watching and in the chat, feel free to jump in and help out with that. But that's a great question, Immortal. TWNDG, thank you for the $100 super chat. Y'all rock, you rock, and I appreciate you very much. TWNDG, thank you for the $50. Wow, man. S Moore, thank you for the $10. Does that mean the Azov interned will be executed? That's tough to say. But with the lower house in Russia voting on Azov, not being eligible for prisoner of war exchanges, you start to wonder what's going to happen to him. So I think you're on a thought plane that a lot of people are right now. TWN, thanks for the 50 before that. AUTR, thank you for the $5. Would you say that the siege of Mariupol was a Pyrrhic victory for Russia? It depends on how you look at it, right? So if there was an intent for that siege to effectively be a thorn in Russia's side to provide time and keep Russia focused on multiple fronts, then you could say to an extent that it was a tactical victory for Ukraine, or you could also continue, of course, to say that it was a victory for Russia because effectively they have solidified that landmass in the south now. Mariupol was really the last bastion, pulling up the map here for you guys. Mariupol was really the last bastion of the solidification of the land bridge between Donbass and Crimea. If I was a betting man, I would say that there are going to be essentially two priorities from here, right? The further solidification of the Donbass and a press westward to try and capture as much ground as possible in the move towards Odessa. So Odessa being out here to the west, I doubt that they'll end up getting that far. They really struggled when they got up towards Mykolaiv here. But the reports, at least coming out of Ukraine, so take this, with a grain of Ukraine's by assault, are that there are heavy troop increases happening here for a potential push. Now in the north, and we were going to talk about this in a little bit, Russia has lost quite a bit of ground near Kharkiv. And a lot of the analysts, the talking heads that are out there, believe that the new priority is going to be capitalizing on gains that they've seen near Donbass to try to secure more of this area. Now, there are also reports saying that essentially Russian troops along that land bridge corridor that they have now are starting to dig in. And we've talked before about the potential that Russia could be essentially setting conditions or posturing towards holding that ground indefinitely, or with an intent to have Ukraine have to capitulate that ground as an eventuality, right? Everything from transitioning to the ruble in Kherson and a couple other towns to establishing those trenches, and placing mines, defensive posture down here. Okay, let's jump back into the footage. What I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about, and let me jump back up here, the Donets River. So the Donets River up in the north, and this broke actually last week, but we've got some really interesting footage for it. Most are going to see the destruction footage, the drone footage, but we have footage that, some will probably have already seen. Again, we are only live twice a week, so, some of the stuff that we've got is a little bit delayed, with typically inside of 72 hours, though. We've also got footage that we're going to watch of the reported forward observer team that was providing feedback and monitoring that artillery barrage of that bridge near the river where, Russia potentially lost an entire BTG. So that first bit of footage is going to come up right now. And this is the drone footage, really the aftermath footage of that artillery strike on Russians trying to cross the Donets River. And I'll give you guys a map as soon as we're done watching that as well. Coming up for you now, full screen. We've got music, so I'm going to keep it muted. I'll give you my own music. All right, so what we just watched is a little bit of that drone footage, the aftermath of that artillery strike near the Donets River. Now what we're going to watch is reportedly, and of course I can't validate this because of the way the video is cut, we're going to watch some footage of what, it's definitely a forward observation team, and for those that don't know what a forward observation team is, it's essentially a forward deployed element that can help call in fires and indirect fires, airstrikes, etc. It's definitely a forward observation team. What we can't see is what they're looking at until we move to a video cut where they show some more of that aftermath footage of the Donets River crossing, where, you know, Russia did lose well over 70 some odd vehicles. We mentioned it in passing on Thursday. Didn't cover too much ground on it because information was still hitting. But based on analysis, you know, not ours, of course, just analysis across independent sources, even if each of those videos was only occupied by 3 to 5 folks, you know, you're looking at what could be very close to a BTG. Now, keep in mind, a normal BTG, which is the primary combat element for Russia, is between 700 and 800 people when fully staffed. We do know that Russia has had a problem keeping their BTGs at full strength. So you're looking at probably already a portion of that 700 to 800 soldier BTG, and the estimates currently are above 400 killed in this one engagement. Now let's watch this forward observation team on the X. Coming up for you guys now, and you'll be able to hear the arty hitting the ground in the video.
Я думаю, Саня, вони по одному десь в цих залиснях. Найди хоча б одного і там десь по цій лінії хай.
So, this end footage that you're looking at here is close to the aftermath because there are actually, in the final photos, you can actually see some of those Russian T-series tanks had tried crossing in the drink themselves, and they're still there. They have not moved from that location. But this is the only real tie that we have between the two. Now, again, I present that to you as reportedly. I am not telling you that that was the forward observation team. I am telling you that that's the way that it was presented to us. You make your own call on that one. Mariupol has fallen. Technically, yes. Ukraine essentially has said they have served their purpose of keeping Russia busy while we could, you know, establish defenses and, you know, conduct counteroffensives. We talked about that at the very beginning of the stream, but essentially it was done under the quote-unquote guise that those defenders that are in Mariupol that surrendered or you know, kind of gave up to the Russians. Somewhere around 50 of them were critically wounded and have been evac to a medical facility. But then you've got, you know, over 200 others, 200 other defenders. And again, it was not just Azov. You know, it's doing the Marines in Mariupol a disservice. It wasn't just Azov that was in Mariupol. You had Marines there, you had Azov, you had civilians. This was all done under the premise, with my understanding, forgive me if I'm mistaken, I'm human, that Azov and the Mariupol defenders agreed to surrender to be an eventual part of a prisoner exchange with Russia. Russia's lower house, and I'm drawing a blank on what it's called. Give me a second here. Russia's lower house, the State Duma, voted today to bar all Azov from being exchanged in POW exchanges. And that's a line that I'm going to keep an eye on, right? Because that would go against what my understanding of the original, you know, quote, surrender of the Mariupol Defenders was, you know, you got a portion of Azov, you got a portion of those Marines. But if the State Duma is, you know, voting against Azov being able to be exchanged as a POW, that's an interesting piece that we've got to keep an eye on. All right, the next thing. Still in the Severodonetsk area, Rubizny. For those that aren't familiar with that, let's pull the map back up and I'll show you generally speaking where that is. So in eastern Ukraine, this is where we've been focused for the last 20 minutes or so. In eastern Ukraine, you've got Izum over here on the left. Severodonetsk is here, right, in Rubizny. Now, there is a critical bridge crossing that was destroyed by Ukraine. Ukraine doing some terrain denial here. And it's a pretty fantastic explosion that we're going to watch. It's coming up for you guys right now. And here you go. So Russia is heavily reliant on rail from a logistics perspective. We know that Ukraine has done a lot to try to disrupt Russian logistics. Let's watch that one more time. Whether it be striking into Russian territory, or, you know, doing what they can from like even a guerrilla perspective behind Russian lines. Ukraine has been pretty heavily focused on disrupting Russia's ability to get beans, bullets, water, food, fuel out to their troops. All right. Let's move on to our next segment that I have here, which is just some general other videos that I thought were interesting that you guys can find on the app and on the website. ! App if you don't have the app. This one's kind of amusing. There's a Russian BMP, and he just watched another Russian BMP explode. So during this Russian BMP's risk assessment, they determined that the exploded BMP in front of them was enough of a mitigating factor for that risk assessment to just send it through the same minefield. It's kind of a wild video to watch. It's coming up for you guys right now. Here you go, full screen. In the same spot too. So this BMP saw that one get hit with a mine, and the vehicle commander was like, "No, it's fine." And these are Russian BMPs. I thought that one was an interesting one. And again, you guys can check that out on the app. We're going to watch some grad strikes here. So this is a Ukrainian perspective video showing the general effectiveness of the BM-21 Grad. If you don't know what the BM-21 Grad is, I'll bring that up for you right now. My goodness. What is going on here? There you go. This is the BM-21 Grad. It is a Russian or Soviet-designed multiple launch rocket system, right? So there are rockets in each of these. They fire in not necessarily a sequential order, but a fixed order. Once upon a time, I learned that relatively recently. It looked like it was random, but there is a firing order, and it's set in a certain way to mitigate heat. You know, they don't just fire down the line here. Somebody sent me the actual, you know, firing order, and I thought that was really awesome. So thank you if that person is out there. But let's watch this video. So what we're going to see is we're actually going to see Russians retreating from a BM-21 Grad launch. We're going to see them attempting to flee via vehicle. But this is really one of the first instances that we've seen of potential logistics problems that are happening with Ukraine. The vehicle doesn't start, so they have to take off running across a wide open field, and that's unfortunately where the video ends. But we're going to see that one coming up here in 3 seconds. And here you guys go. Going to give you full screen.
Что такое?
Нет.
Надо отсюда уебывать.
Передвигаемся. Нету команды.
Надо уебывать отсюда.
Да, блядь. Говорит Фортуна, по нам тут прилеты. Уходим, колонна, Фортуна, уходим.
Куда? Куда?
On the vehicle! Carlo, in the vehicle! In the vehicle! Carlo, in the vehicle!
Very well hidden Jeep there. We just lost audio for a second. I'll be back.
У нас машина не работает.
Фортуна, не работает! Сука! Что не так? Давай. Выходим в сторону.
Не работает тачка. Да. Стой! Машина не работает.
Выходим.
Hold on. Time out. Why are we promoting Nazis? Do you understand what we're watching? We're watching Russian strikes forcing a Ukrainian withdrawal. Okay. Pull your thumb out of your backblast area. All right. Let's go back to the video.
Уходим отсюда.
Да, блядь, тип, надо другую тачку. Давай тачку,
So this is the part that I really wanted to focus on here. Look at this field that they are now having to traverse. Just trying to pan around as much as I can for you to see that.
Тачку, вон, гонза.
So that again, just to cover back down, and again, all of the footage that we ever watch here will be on the app and on the website, and you guys are welcome to watch it well ahead of this. But like we talked about last stream, this stream is really designed less about a breaking news. That's not really what we do at Funker 530. We are documentarians of global combat footage worldwide. Right, we cover everything from Syria, which we're going to watch some serious stuff in a little bit. We cover Afghanistan, obviously the global war on terror, India-Pakistan conflicts, Yemen. Really, anywhere there is conflict, it's important for us that this stuff gets documented so that people can go to it and understand what war looks like. So we focus this show a little bit less on, breaking news and more on what we're seeing from around the world. Now, Ukraine is obviously the most impactful global conflict that we have going on right now. So we do focus a heavy portion of this on that. But there's a reason that we also have our partners that come on the show with us. We have specific segments dedicated for non-Ukraine stuff, which we're coming up to in 2 videos. It's always important for me that you guys understand that what this show is and what it is not. I am not a Ukraine expert. I need to check in on some of the support really quick before we go on to the next video because it's continuing to flow in. Pizza Grunt, thank you very much for the $5. Jason, thank you for becoming a member. Robert, thank you for the 603. I appreciate all of you. Thank you all. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Daniel, thank you for the $2. And thanks again, guys, for all the support. Let's move on to our next video here. So this is going to be a medevac of a wounded Ukrainian soldier. And Josh posted this one, and he actually posted something pretty profound on it. Most of you guys know this at this point, but Funker 530 is entirely comprised of veterans, right? And of course, our best comparison that we have to watching this is going to be the global war on terror. Josh points out a really interesting comparison with what we're about to watch. In Afghanistan or in Iraq, as you know, an American or allied soldier, you were never really more than one radio call away from a Black Hawk. Both Ukraine and Russia are dealing with a very different situation as near-peer, generally speaking, adversaries, right? Ukraine, not necessarily so on paper, but with Western NATO support, it's apparent that Ukraine has been able to hold their own. So from a medevac perspective, watch the video. It's actually really amazing to see, you know, to think about the differences, you know, as a veteran myself, in how I am trained to call for medevac versus how it's actually happening in Ukraine. It's coming up for you.
Лаки, 300-й! Давай, затягивай его!
So again, Josh posted this one, guys. And if you wanted to be able to read, let me break down the makeup of the Funker 530 team for you. There's 2 admin staff, one of which is me. We focus on, you know, the forward-facing content, partner relationships. We have 3 writers, and we actually just onboarded a new, very, very, very part-time admin guy to help out with, you know, just adding some organization. So if you guys are interested in better understanding what the writers are finding and the information that they have out there, on our website, we do have an analysis section that we try to provide as much context as possible. It's also available in the app. All you have to do is click on the analysis tab, and you can read Josh's write-up here, because he really does, you know, bring that, you know, comparison full circle. Again, understanding that we're talking about apples versus oranges right now, it's really the best comparison that we have, you know, for the last 20 some odd years. That has been what we know to be war. But America has yet to face off against a near-peer adversary. So I just wanted to show you guys that really quick. Nikomaya, don't know how to pronounce that. Thank you very much for the $5. I appreciate that. And I do realize that there are a lot of differing opinions that are out there. Something that I've been very heavily focused on today is whether or not it kind of goes too far. Something I'm always prepared to do, and this is not for anything other than to kind of quell a little bit of that argument that's out there. You're welcome to have differing opinions, or we can have a discussion. But when it goes from a discussion to being combative, toxic, you know, threats, we've seen those here too. We will you know, pull the chat back from subscriber mode, go into maybe member only mode for a little bit. But I am keeping an extra eye on it tonight. Annexation of Crimea. Not illegal. That's an interesting take, Halsey. Let's move on to the last thing I wanted to get to before we jumped into the non-Ukraine footage. And then we'll be doing our Trending Tuesday, which is really my favorite segment, because then we get to look at the top trending videos on the website and on the app. And that's coming up for you right here. What we're going to look at here, if I asked you to tell me you were trained by Marines without telling me you were trained by Marines, what do you think you'd do? For all the veterans out there, I'd probably just yell the whole time. And it would appear that we've got some Marine-trained Ukrainian artillerymen here. Now that's a D30. That is not a 777. I know you guys have seen a lot of information on the 777s. These are some moto guys, man. Seems you think I'm sus for not supporting Russia or Ukraine. Why could I? It's a conflict. Supporting conflict isn't the way to go to begin with. That's an interesting way to put it. And if you guys were to watch last week's stream, I kind of tried to put it in a similar way, right? We are not necessarily supporters of Ukraine. I personally, let me rephrase that to be I am not necessarily a Ukraine supporter, and I'm not a Russian supporter. I actually, don't really have any ties to either ethnically, anything outside of just they're also human beings. Well, what I personally am against is the invasion of a sovereign nation, right? Don't give me whataboutism with Iraq, Afghanistan, because to be honest with you, I was 13 when we invaded Iraq. I didn't really have any buy-in. I chose to eventually deploy, whether that's nationalism, propaganda, what have you. But I did deploy twice to Afghanistan. And when you look at it as objectively as possible, Russia really has no purpose for this invasion. There isn't one, because even if you were to make the argument that they are doing it because of the ethnic populace in Donbass and in Crimea, why did they extend that invasion beyond the oblasts? Why did they extend it into the north? Why did they take Chernobyl and try to take Kiev? Then you start getting into conversations about, Eastern growth of NATO, and it's much more complex than do you support Ukraine or do you support Russia? It is not that simple of a problem. Does that make sense? This is America's war, no one else. I disagree entirely. This is Putin's war. Every piece of footage that we put out, America did this. Tell me how. I will look for your name again. Hold on. What was that name? Joe Cast. Help me out, man. Learn me. I'm being honest. While he's doing that, we're going to jump into our non-Ukraine footage here. So this is going to come out of Syria, and we've got more Ukraine footage coming up right after it, though. This is coming out of Syria, where an absolute donut of an RPG... One second. Where an absolute donut of a guy running an RPG takes his buddy out with the backblast, and he did not call for backblast area all clear. Coming up for you full screen.
Saturn A.
Oh, yeah, guy right there. Oh, there he goes.
Saturn A.
Backblast area clear. Wait, what? And he's gone. And it's gone. All right, where'd he go? Funny how Russia is richer now with sanctions. That's the dumbest thing that I've read tonight. And there's been enough in there, but that's pretty dumb. Is this recent footage from Syria? I'll give you guys the link so you can go check out the analysis and context section from the writers. There's the link to this video. You could go for a donut right now. I haven't had a donut in like, I don't know, 5 years. I used to be about 100 pounds bigger than I am now. So I just kind of stopped eating donuts. So we're going to see some more footage coming out of Syria, but we also are going to have some footage tonight from Africa. We're going to have some Afghan National Resistance Front footage, and we're going to see some historical footage from the global war on terror, which is, to some extent humorous. I'm trying not to be too callous about that. But this one's going to be interesting. Imagine having more testicular fortitude than any other human being on the planet and facing down a tank at the barrel side, at the business end of a tank with an RPG. What you're going to get is the Syrian Jamshid. For those that don't know who Jamshid is, go to funker530.com, click on the search bar, and type in Jamshid, and you're going to be happy that you did. Coming up for you full screen. And there he is. And there he goes. Here he comes again. Now, here's the concern with this, right? Either this is entirely unoccupied, or they just it's pretty likely that that it's unoccupied, because what you've got here, wrong button. Let's put that up. What you've got here is you've got bow guns, you've got a coax gun. There are so many ways on this business side of this tank that they can deal with this threat. If we've got tankers out there, guys, help me out here. Somebody said the barrel moved. It did. It did. So they tried. They did their best. Watch the circle for the barrel. The little black dot there. Oh. Right there. So he's probably trying to bring that coax down and on target. But you're still going to have, you know, I don't know the makeup very well of this, but you should still end up with like maybe a bow gunner of some kind. I'm not sure, but it seems like there would be other weapon systems than just the coax that would be able to engage there. What do they fire at the tank? Looks like some form of an RPG. Shoulder-fired launcher of some kind. Kind of difficult to tell. It's a pretty grainy video. And I have it big stretched up onto a 1440p canvas right now. Yeah, it's an RPG. Anyway, I thought that one was kind of interesting and somewhat pertinent. Is that him running back across that we just saw? Yep, sure is. And you can actually see the outline maybe of that RPG here. That's the same dude, without a doubt. All right. Let's bring it up. The next. So, Nigerian army. We don't get a lot of footage coming out of Africa. But the Islamic State in West Africa, it's next to impossible to see this, but it was very recently recorded, you know, within the last few days, of Nigerian army chasing down an Islamic State in West Africa technical and reportedly destroying it. It's kind of difficult to see what we're looking at here because the cameraman really having a rough time on the back of his technical, keeping control of it. It's coming up for you guys in 3 seconds. And here you go. So that is let's back it up so I can show you guys what we're looking at here. So that is an Islamic State technical that they were engaged with there. Come on. Where are you? See what I mean about it being kind of difficult to see? This here is an Islamic State technical. The individuals that we are watching from their perspective, and there it is. That's the technical, excuse me. Are the Nigerian army. Now, I don't know if it's me, but this guy doesn't have his stock unfolded on his AK. You know, I'm not sure how effective that's going to be. They're pretty close, so maybe it should be fine, I guess. But it was reported that they had destroyed the technical. It's kind of difficult to tell what state that's in. They, you know, to an extent kind of drove right past it. All right, let's move on. That one is available on the website as well. Again, you know, we are global focused. It's not just Ukraine that we cover. We've been around for well over a decade for those that might be new. This is some interesting footage of the Afghan National Resistance Front that was recorded on May 13th. For those that don't know, the Afghan National Resistance Front is essentially the modern iteration of the Northern Alliance. The Northern Alliance is, you know, who we, the Allied forces, allied ourselves with the initial invasion of Afghanistan. Fast forward to today, they are still putting up a fight, especially in Panjshir Valley. This is footage of the Afghan National Resistance Front ambushing Taliban forces in Panjshir, and it was recorded on May 13th of this year. So just 4 days ago. We've still got another segment worth of Ukraine footage coming up here, guys. Let me give you full screen. Let me point out what we're looking at here. You've got Taliban fighters down here, and the hilarity is about to ensue, and you've got more Taliban here. So, here's the deal, boss. I don't know if he hit anything. What's most pertinent about this is that the Afghan National Resistance Front is still around, and they are still fighting back against the Taliban, even after the Taliban has essentially taken control of the government. As most of you saw in the latest Funker News Network episode that we did, the edited content that we do have a full playlist of. They've taken control of some of the former SOF units that used to work with Special Operations Joint Task Forces in Afghanistan. So Western-trained SOF units are now working with the Taliban. But the Afghan National Resistance Front is still around. I have no idea if he hit anything. And based on the way that just went, probably not. Now, it was initiated by other small arms, so maybe that first shot, was able to clip somebody or something. But I don't know what he's hitting, swinging like that. There's your initiation. He's just kind of sending it.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing that I have is the bluest pair of cojones you'll ever see for a pair of Apache pilots. And this is historical footage, a lot like some of the other stuff that we have on the website. Again, we are really documentarians. We are documenting this stuff and making it easily accessible on our own platform. I can tell you that for the Syrian civil war, we used to upload a lot more to YouTube. What ended up happening is YouTube pulled an arbitrary percentage here, 80% of our Syrian civil war footage that we had off of our site or off of our channel. So that kind of justified even further us needing to collate this data, this footage, this history on our own platform. Now, Facebook actually recently threatened to shut us down, and it was my fault. I made a funny video about the Taliban's recent video they put out, and Facebook said that it was against their policies for their community guidelines for hate groups or something. I was hating on the Taliban. That's kind of all the better reason for you guys to grab the app, make sure that we can, continue to show this footage to you, just in case for some reason we're not able to be on Facebook or on YouTube. Let's take a look at this footage. We're going to scroll somewhat towards the end of it. I'll give you the bottom line on this. A Apache team, essentially waiting for clearance to fire, is loitering over a position here. There's some really excellent restraint. A small child comes into picture, and then kind of goes away. But their plans to eventually fire get kind of ruined. Coming up for you now. Let's see if this will work. Yeah, good enough. I'll give you full screen.
Is that a kid? Damn it! The kid appears to be carrying something over into the vicinity. He's handing them something, and they're digging in that road. Okay, go in, kid. Push. All right, we're at 2700. Yep. And an individual's moving with a wheelbarrow up to that same area. Got that guy with the wheelbarrow stop. Hey, Fermi, looks like he went down to get water. He's continuing back down to get more water or something. The child brought something to...
So just to kind of back things up here and explain what we're looking at for those that might have just joined us, we are watching, and this is historical footage from the Global War on Terror. We're watching an Apache gunship essentially wait for clearance to fire on, these insurgents placing an IED. Now, at one point, a child comes into screen, and they report that up. The child leaves again, and they are once again waiting for authorization to fire on this team that's put in placing an IED. For those that at this point don't know what that is, improvised explosive device. A lot of times it's hidden underneath the ground, and when somebody drives across it, it'll blow up. Right? It's a bomb. I've seen a lot of asks for, hey, what does the technical mean? What's this? What's that? I'm going to try to explain things in a very simplistic way. That's an oversimplification of a very complex, overarching term. You've got all sorts of variations of IEDs, suicide vehicle-borne IEDs, SVEST type stuff. You've got booby traps, remote-controlled IEDs, command wire IEDs. So I'm oversimplifying that, simply for the purposes of those that are watching that don't know what it is. Coming up for you now.
Those two individuals that appear to be digging in the road handed it to them and moved off at this point.
Big break, 1015. Are you confident that you have PID on these individuals? We see the two digging and with the wheelbarrow in the center.
Roger. I believe that a hostile act that is in the same areas that we saw them cover something up.
Roger, can you accept Roger, good copy. They're happy for us.
Whoa! Never mind.
Never mind. He said never mind.
Break. It just detonated by itself.
They just blew themselves up.
They just blew themselves up.
So what you just saw, wrong button. Hey, there's my rifles. Airsoft. I like airsoft a lot. So what you just saw was premature detonation. Something like 1 in 4 men have a problem. Okay, it's not something that we need to focus on or hold against them. Something like 1 in 4 men have premature detonation problems, and we just looked at 1 of the 4 there. All right, let's jump into Trending Tuesday. Now I'm going to show you guys really quick on the website how you can find this yourself. So if you were to go to the homepage, whether on your app or on desktop, right up at the top, you can click on Trending. And every Tuesday, we go into the top 5 trending videos that we have on the site. At the time of all of my notes being taken, our number 5 that we watched just a little bit earlier is the BMP that was just going to send it, regardless of what happened to his buddy immediately prior. This is the number 5 trending video over the last 7 days for us. Coming up for you now. So this vehicle on the far right here just hit an anti-tank mine, anti-armor mine. And this tank saw that happen, conducted a quick ad hoc risk assessment, and thought to himself, it's going to be fine. Everything was not fine. Not even a little bit. Number 4. So that was, again, our number 5 most trending video. Number 4 is the footage that we watched at the very beginning of reportedly Azov in in close combat, close enough to start, hucking danger baseballs out of their trench. And this was reportedly from Donbass, which means that it had to have been somewhat earlier in the war, because everybody should be familiar at this point. By the end, or at least moving up to recently, Azov had made their way into Mariupol for its defense. It's coming up for you guys right now, for those that weren't here earlier. This is our number 4 trending video.
Щось гудить їхня техніка. Сука, піздує сюди.
Now here's the note with this. We're not going to watch all of it because the end of it is very not safe for work, but I am pasting a link to the video in the chat.
Їдуть сюди, прямо на 12.
Тихо, тихо, тихо.
Що тихо?
Їде. Пацани, їде бак. Заряджаємося.
Готов, сука.
Well, all we know is that it's generally Donetsk, so you're right, it could be Donetsk Oblast.
Єбать. Вони вже тут, нахуй.
What caliber is that rifle? Looks like 7.62 by 5.1. Maybe slightly larger.
Руки, блядь! Блядь, сука, кинь оружие нахуй! Оружие ложи, блядь! Оружие положи, блядь! Оружие, блядь! Положи оружие, я сказал, блядь!
Зброю на підлогу! На підлогу! Я не по тобі.
Was it suppressed? It does look like it has a suppressor on it, yes.
Пошли сюда, сука! Медленно нахуй! Руки потом на кушание, блядь! Блядь, сука! Блядь!
Візьми калаш.
Не глина!
Я сказав, сука!
Блядь, блядь! Блядь, спокойно! Блядь, это!
А що, вони здаються?
Gotta
Вони
stop for a
здаються?
selfie.
Заглушили мотор! Заглушили
Підери
мотор!
здаються.
Заглушили мотор, быстро! Быстро заглушили мотор, или я стреляю! На счет 3, раз! Два!
Ахуй, підери.
РП!
На! На. Де вони? А? Зараз вам буде пошвиночок. Пацани, зараз...
Here comes the RGD.
Я.
Давай! Гранаты есть у кого?
Блять. Є.
Давай, де, гранат!
Граната! Подарунок, підар! Є.
And that's about as far as we can go on this one, but I posted a link for you guys if you want to watch the rest of that video. At the end of it, it kind of shows a little bit of aftermath from this fight. There's some dead guys. There's dead folks. Reportedly, presumably Russian, right next to what appears to be a disabled armored vehicle. All right, so that was number 4. The number 3 video trending on the website was the new Sputnik program that we reviewed last week. If you aren't familiar with the new Sputnik program, it's actually being run out of Ukraine by Russia with Ukrainian support. One of the few programs that I think they're working very closely together on quite a bit. And that's coming up for you guys right now.
其2 B3的坦克被巨大的爆炸声炸上了天。
And there it goes.
这又是一次死里逃生。如果按照我们日产车150码的时速，3分钟后，我们的车辆。
So on Thursday, we went over how high we thought that was. And I think the general consensus was like 150, 200 feet, something like that. It's pretty high at the Turd Olympics. So this is the number 3 most trending video on Funker530.com and on the app. This next one we can't watch here live, but what you will essentially see, and I'm going to give you the link to it, is a Russian soldier hit directly with probably a mortar round. Excuse me. With probably a mortar round dropped from some form of a commercial drone. And that's going to be our number 2 most watched video on the site. I'm just spamming the shit out of this. All right, here you go. And then our number 1 most trending videos. We've had a lot of talk about javelins. We've seen a lot of footage of javelins launching. But I don't think we've ever seen, or at least we haven't covered it here, footage that's this clear of the launch and impact. And that's going to come up for you right now. Let's play Airsoft, Ronnie. No. Think so. Not that I wouldn't play it. I don't have any Airsoft guns. Maybe. Here you go. Can't play the music. So there's your launch, and here's your impact. Now, there are a lot of comments. There are a lot of comments about, why would they waste a javelin on a tank? It's already disabled. What a waste. What a waste. Well, the javelin, each individual javelin costs what, $200 some odd $1,000. Those tanks are between $1 and $2 million. Why not just? First of all, Ukraine's not paying for that, right? So look at this from Ukraine's perspective. They're not paying for the javelin that's being sent to them. You also want to deny Russia the ability to come back for that disabled vehicle. If it is, in fact, just out there disabled, they might be having a smoke break in the middle of a field. We've seen Russia employing their artillery in the middle of a field. Why not this lone random tank? It's not a waste of the munition. That's my opinion, and my opinion matters just to me, like literally to nobody else. But if I've got a disabled Russian vehicle out there and I have the ability to remove it from the battlefield entirely with a weapon system that's been gifted to me, I'm going to use that. Well, thanks, Michael. That's very nice of you to say. There's been a lot of support that's come across that I want to get to here really quick. Broncos Tears are most savory. Thank you for the $4.99. Feudamir, thank you for the $20. That Gen X dude, thank you for becoming a member. Welcome to the Funkers. Oklahoma Pride, thank you for the $4.99. The will of one man changed the lives of millions. Thank you to you and your team. I am just one small part of the Funker 530 team. I'm just the guy with a camera because I already have a live stream that happens, right? So thank you for that. We all appreciate your support. Nicomedia, thank you for becoming a member. Corn Pops, thank you for the $10. Noel Bruce, thank you for the $1.99. Love the channel. Keep it up. I love you. Steve, thank you for the $10. Is it possible for Ukraine to cause enough casualties for Russia to rethink taking the Donbass region? No. That is very doubtful. Here's the problem. And we talked about this, I don't know, a couple months ago when this first really kicked off. Russia's got a lot more at stake than just people at this point. Let's go to a map. Russia's got a lot more at stake at this point than people. The way I grew up is that Russia was the bad guy, right? That's the boogeyman that is coming to steal your freedoms. That's totally, absolutely not the case. Those are remnants from the Cold War with my parents. They've been conditioned for that. That being said, Russia's reputation is at stake here as one of the leading superpowers of the world. It's already been damaged to a point to where if Russia doesn't force Ukraine to capitulate a lot of this additional ground, not just Donbass and Crimea, then Russia has really at that point lost a lot of the Wasta that they once had. At this point, there's a lot of the world, not everybody, because even those that were against, the war from a country perspective, it's more of a soft no than anything because of how much Russia does for other countries, right? There are a lot of countries that are very reliant on Russia for everything from energy to food, electricity. There's been a lot of talk about Finland being taken off of Russia's electricity grid. If Russia isn't able to walk away with something to hang a success hat on, that ruins Russia's, global reputation even worse than it already has been. Okay, I'm not anti-Russia. I'm a big fan of Russian hard bass. I listen to it all the time. Blyatman is one of my favorite songs. I listen to it like almost daily. I am just speaking to my personal opinion on, what has transpired, right? Russia completely screwed up their first of all, they screwed up by invading in the first place, right? That's not how you handle your problems. You don't just go walk up and punch somebody in the mouth. But they, on paper, were supposed to be the number 2 military in the world. They were stopped absolutely cold in the north. They have lost nearly all of the ground that they once had in the Northeast. They actually just gave it up to focus elsewhere. They had lost too much combat power to be able to maintain multiple fronts. They got slapped in the hangdown. They've lost a lot of their positions near Kharkiv. They've lost a lot of their positions near Kherson. To say that Russia is winning would be false. To say that Russia is losing would be false. But there is almost no scenario where Russia just says, F it, I'm done. Almost none. Now that is born of general ignorance on my part, so take that with a grain of salt. So Ukraine should give them land? No. No, absolutely not. That's their land. I'm not giving you half of my backyard. No. I can see as an end state if we were doing fortune telling here. I can see Crimea and the 2014 to 2016 Donbass being capitulated, with none of the others. That being said, Russia, again, and we talked about this earlier tonight, Russia has started setting conditions for solidifying their control over these areas with things like transitioning the local, installing new local governments, transitioning the money to the ruble. That's wild. And they wouldn't do that unless they intended on retaining that long term. Right? Ukraine is holding out. That's the best way to put it. I wouldn't say winning, right? I would say they're taking back ground in certain areas. But from a combat power perspective, Russia just kind of continues to throw wave after wave of, reservist conscripts. Russia's kind of running out of reservists and conscripts, though. I can point you guys back to reporting specifically on that. But it's a lot more complex, too. I see the question all the time. Is Russia winning or is Ukraine winning? Neither of them. Ukraine's holding their own. Russia's, gaining small areas of ground or small tracts of land here and there. Ukraine's counteroffensives near Kherson and Kharkiv have been wildly effective over the last couple weeks. But it's more complex than that, right? Just like support for this or that is more complex than do you support Ukraine or don't you? Checking in on the chat. It's a war, no one wins. Green diesel, yeah. I mean, that's a great way to put it, right? It's a very centrist way to put it, but you're right. Nobody wins. Russia has exactly 20 Armada Yeah, the T-14 is not even if they employ it, it's not gonna be enough to really make anything but a negligible localized change if it's operational. Ronnie, can I take a nap? Yeah, sure, Josh. Bye-bye. We're closing out. We're closing out anyway. I just want to double check all of my notes here. Russian forces with unsuccessful ground operations near Donetsk and Luhansk. We talked about the negotiation of the evacuation of 264 wounded Ukrainian servicemen. Yep. They're not 264 wounded. You know, they're probably all, to some degree, pretty downtrodden. There are about 50 of those that were evacuated for medical treatment in Russian-controlled areas. Continuing to fortify their positions in Zaporizhia. So that's what we were just talking about here. So fortifying these positions, setting conditions for holding and maintaining it long term. Right? Now, the Institute for the Study of War, which you guys know that I'm a fan of, right? It's not foreign. I really, really enjoy the Institute for the Study of War, and if you want to see their work, here you go. Their projection is that Russia will more or less abandon this northeastern corridor to an extent, right? Izum here, they still want and need to try to hold. They're going to work to try to close off this Ukrainian salient that you have here in a little bit more localized of a fashion. But the priority that ISW has, kind of shifted to is off of Izum and to really try to take more of Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts. So out like into here and such. But that's one of the things that I really love about this map is it helps you it helps you understand the disposition of units, right? Now again, he's just there. This is a small team of folks that are doing this, so they're not able to update it every day. They're doing their best to research it, fact check it as best as possible. But the 95th, only the 95th, and their leadership knows what's happening right here, right now. Right? We can make assumptions. We can watch as much footage as we like, but the context, we're seeing that in a two-dimensional kind of perspective. Anyway, checking back in on the last bit of support here. We are all funkers. Thanks, Thy Rampant Pigeon, for the 251. Anton, thank you for the 20. I appreciate that, guys. The whole team does. We're going to close things out for the night. It is a Tuesday, so the rest of my night is off. I'm going to kick back on the couch with a beer and hopefully something to eat. I'm pretty hungry. And I hope you guys will join me. My live week continues tomorrow on my channel. I'll drop you guys a link in that, where I believe we're playing Hell Let Loose tomorrow. I think. I have to double check the schedule. But we appreciate you being here. Thanks for checking out ATN, our sponsor for tonight. Steve, ATN, they are good people, putting affordable, I wouldn't say next generation, but the next level of optics in more people's hands, right? I, again, run there on that rifle back there. I've got an ATN X-Sight 4K, and I love it. There's a lot of new capabilities that are out there that are just now starting to become affordable, and ATN's at the tip of that spear. Good night, and stay informed.
Байрактар. Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посорбати довбані щі, та трохи в ущах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Зі сходу припхались до нас барани, для вас становлення великої страни, найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи, всяке озброєння, різне, ракети, потужні машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, і ми зачаїли на орків образу, з бандитів російських робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, та вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто ж винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає їх цар.